Park will be leading out Portsmouth, and they know that safety is firmly in their own hands, and a win here today will give them a real opportunity of taking care of business with a game to spare. Once again, two sides towards the bottom of the championship on direct opposition. It's another full house at Fratton Park. And Portsmouth with a real opportunity today to take a firm grip on their place in the championship. And Leicester City, who 12 months ago were still a Premier League team, a decade ago they were the champions, the best team in English football, but now a place in League One next season is staring them firmly in the face. Two changes for Portsmouth from the win against Ipswich on Tuesday. Connor Chaplin is available after being ineligible against his parent club, and Kashi Anderson also returns, with Adrian Segacic and John Swift dropping to the bench, where they're joined by Ebu Adams and Josh Murphy, who was involved for the first time since injury in December. The big news for Leicester is the return of Asmir Begovic in goal. The 38-year-old replacing Jakub Stalacic against his first club. Gary Rowett has spoken of the need for more toughness in his team, and Hamza Chowdhury and Bobby Dicordova-Reid will try and provide that, with Oliver Skipp and Divine Musaka dropping to the bench. Colby Bishop scored his first goal at Fratton Park this season in the win against Ipswich on Tuesday. And it was very well timed. But even without a large number of goals this season, he still offers leadership. And that's what John Mousinho will be looking for today. And there's no doubt Leicester do have a number of talented players in their side. Abdul Fatawu, 9 goals and 7 assists this season. You may remember his spectacular goal from well inside his own half against Ipswich back in December. But now Gary Rowett knows his team simply have to win this game today. It's a tough run-in, with home games coming up in the next week against both Hull and Millwall, two sides who are chasing promotion. For John Mousinho and Portsmouth, away trips to Coventry and Stoke following this game. They'll next be here on the final day, and by then they will hope, from their point of view, the relegation issues will have been sorted. Fratton Park, born in Portsmouth, knows all about the importance of this game here today. Leicester City, wearing the pink shirts, who get the match underway. Currently 5 points adrift of safety in the relegation zone, but they are attacking the goal away to our left in the first half. Their captain Ricardo Pereira looking to come forward, and he's managed to deliver the cross, which was deflected away by Paul at the near post, and Anderson is able to clear downfield. Devlin in pursuit, but he's beaten to it by Wicks. But now Devlin has won it back. here is Bishop. First opportunity to attack. The shot though was blocked by Lascelles. Anderson. And the challenge from Aberdeen, and it will be a throw-in for Portsmouth on this near side. Keshi Anderson, who was relegated under Gary Rowett at Birmingham 2 years ago. Black winding up for the first long throw of the game here. And it's held on to the far post, and Ali's volley was blocked, and that was really travelling for Tawu. And it's hammered long downfield to safety. Schmidt, who kept only his 7th clean sheet this season in the victory against Ipswich here on Tuesday. 4. Now Devlin. And it's all the way back to Schmidt again. This Leicester's first visit here in the league since 2011. Portsmouth were on their way down the divisions. Ali, that's deep, and it's chested behind by Thomas for the game's first corner. Luke Thomas, one of the academy players in this Leicester team. And Leicester have conceded 12 goals from corner kicks in the Championship this season. Nobody has let in more by that route. The corner kick into that near post from Anderson is cleared on this occasion. And then hammered in by Chaplin, blocked by Daka, and it will be another corner kick. Marlon Pack. We just changed the angle with an outswinger here. Portsmouth scored their opening goal from a corner kick on this side against Ipswich on Tuesday. Connor Shaughnessy was the player who was on the end of it. And he is one of the players looking to attack this, coming in behind Bishop. But not before Gavin Ward. The referee just has words. Regan Paul just pulling wide to the far post. Bishop is being very closely marked by Bobby De Cordova-Reid. Corner is very deep. Paul tries to keep the ball alive. It's allowed to bounce, and in the end, the flag's up for offside. Begovic will take the free kick, 38 years of age. Failed to keep a clean sheet in his previous 9 appearances for Leicester this season. With the header, but it's forward looking for Anderson. Back to Begovic, who made his debut for Portsmouth in the Premier League in May of 2009. 17 years later, he is back here, and he is trying to help Leicester out of a very difficult situation. Gary Rowett was saying this week that the squad he has is maybe not designed to be involved in a relegation battle. Leicester have the players and the style of play which was developed to challenge at the other end of the table, of course, they bounced back at the first attempt following their previous relegation under Enzo Maresca 2 years ago, but it has been a very different story this time around. Vestergaard with the clearance. Williams deputising for the suspended Connor Ogilvie as a right-sided left-back. Fatawu. It's kept in play by Mabadidi. Thomas. He could overread, beaten to it. Portsmouth eventually had the throw-in. Anderson is down here. He's suggesting he was just barged over, so both managers will take the opportunity to call in their players. They seem to be assessing the left hamstring for Cashy Anderson. Two goals this season, one for Portsmouth in the recent draw here against Oxford, and one against Portsmouth for Birmingham. And it looks as though they are making a change here straight away. Adrian Segacic is coming straight into the action. Cashy Anderson, who was brought into the side for Segacic today, very quickly departs. Devlin will take the throw-in. Portsmouth last played Leicester here back in 2011. It was a 1-1 draw. Free kicks given to Leicester. David Nugent actually scored in both games for Leicester that season after scoring in both wins for Portsmouth the previous year. For much of the time since, Leicester have been in the Premier League. Portsmouth were trawling around the lower divisions. They have coincided once again this season, and at the moment it is Portsmouth who have a significant lead between themselves and Leicester. Gary Rowett was saying before this match it is simply must win for Leicester. Schmidt will take the free kick. Back-to-back wins for Pompey. Absolutely priceless at this stage of the season after only 3 points in their previous 8 games. Their South Coast neighbours Southampton are the only other team in the Championship to have won their last 2 games, which shows just how competitive it is at this stage of the season when you get some rather strange results, not least Portsmouth beating both Middlesbrough and Ipswich. He could overread. Fatawu in towards Daka. He goes down under the challenge of Shaughnessy. Penalty appeals are waved away by Gavin Ward, and now Bishop has been fouled by the Cells, and Portsmouth do have the free kick. Well, Daka is still down. The cross in from Fatawu. Shaughnessy, quick to wave away the appeals, maybe just got the ball first. Worked well by Leicester down the right. Gavin Ward, I'm sure, was looking at the direction of the ball. The Zambian international is back on his feet. Bishop. Awu unable to keep the ball in play. This is another look at that penalty claim for Leicester. It's a very difficult one for the referee on one viewing. Well, maybe with that view, Shaughnessy didn't get the ball and Leicester may have been unlucky. Devlin. Paul. Banana. Backpedaling. Has to concede the throw-in. Seems that Daka got there first and then there was certainly contact, and Gavin Ward may have been looking at the manner of the fall from Daka, but Shaughnessy did seem to catch him. Throw in for Portsmouth. Delivered by Pack, and it was Chowdhury who challenged there with Shaughnessy. Both players have gone down after the aerial collision, and there will be a break in play here. Hamza Chowdhury, who was converted into a right back by Enzo Maresca during his time in charge of Leicester, but has been brought in as a midfielder today, which was the role he played when he broke into the Leicester team. Conor Shaughnessy, who was involved in one penalty area with that challenge on Daka, now receives treatment in the other. Gary Rowett. One side, John Mousinho, as a player, made him captain at Burton. They are both pitted against each other today, and I'm sure that down in the Leicester technical area they've been having a look at that challenge by Shaughnessy on Daka. The more you look at it, the more it seems that Shaughnessy did catch Daka, but of course Gavin Ward only has the benefit of one view. Begovic made that a real fun straight out of play. John Mousinho has met Gary Rowett on the opening day of the season when Portsmouth went to Oxford and won by 1-0. That looks a very important result now. Portsmouth may have rediscovered their form just at the right time. They've been out of the bottom three since the end of January when they drew here with Southampton. Winks. Devlin who made the challenge, and Sekic was fouled by Thomas. Devlin will require some treatment here. Made his 100th appearance for Portsmouth against Ipswich on Tuesday. He looks to be in some trouble. Being caught there initially by Paul, but he did seem to stretch as he made that challenge on Mavididi, and Portsmouth may have to make a second change here within the opening 15 minutes. Keshi Anderson has already gone off with what looked like a hamstring injury, and Devlin may have a similar problem here. John Mousinho is waving someone from the bench. Portsmouth having to reshape their right-hand side in the opening stages of this game, and it doesn't look as though Devlin will be able to continue here. And you can see the disappointment in such a big game. Get some sympathy from his teammates. And also the Pompey crowd. Ivan Boat, the player who was coming on. He's a central defender, so there may be a bit of a reshuffle here. The Scotland under-21 international, signed from Fulham. He came on late in the game on Tuesday. He will have significantly longer here today. Aberdeen. Williams has come over to right back, and Boat will play on the left, and that may suit Williams certainly as a right-sided player. Daka is down on the halfway line. Fatawu, Lascelles, back on his feet, looking to test Shaughnessy. Just pulls him down. It will be a free kick. Daka, as always, trailing Shaughnessy in that race. Leicester have drawn all 5 of their away games under Gary Rowett, but they've not been able to turn draws into wins. Only 1 win in 10 games. They've lost 3 times at home, including that defeat against Swansea last week when Divine Lusaka played a short free kick on the edge of the Swansea penalty area. It was quickly cut out. Swansea swept downfield. Zamba Botnik scored, and just a problem here on the far side. A member of the crowd may have been hit by the ball there. Oh dear. I'm sure she will get the necessary treatment, and players from both sides were quick to head over, and she will be taken away to the medical room. The game has rather been disrupted by injuries on and off the field in the opening 20 minutes. Portsmouth having to replace both Kashi Anderson and Terry Devlin. Westergaard with the header away. Chaplin. It's a long way wide. Diverted. Segacic's shot in for the very late winner at Middlesbrough, but couldn't play against Ipswich, his parent club. Begovic will take the goal kick. Leicester have been inside the bottom three for all but 3 days since the middle of February. They had their points deduction in early February. That dropped them from 14th to 20th in the table. Schmidt, now Shaughnessy. The way the season is panning out for them, they may be beneath the safety line, even without the need for the deduction, as Bishop was fouled there. Combination of Lascelles and Pereira. Portsmouth looking for 3 wins in a row today for the first time since February of last year. We're at that stage of the season where every goal matters to so many clubs, even teams not involved in this game itself. That's the case here today. Pack. Ali beaten to it by Pereira. Fatawu. Well, that will run him out of play. Chaplin. And the key thing for Portsmouth is their record against teams around them. They've taken 22 points in 11 games against the current bottom 7. The only team that's beaten them, Sheffield Wednesday, who enjoyed their only victory so far this season here. Leicester with only 1 touch inside the Portsmouth penalty area so far. And that was Max and Daka under extreme pressure from Connor Shaughnessy. Williams, blocked by Mavadidi, but it will be a throw-in. Portsmouth with all of the attempts on goal so far. Winding up for this. Travels a long way. Fatawu snooping in, but now Dazelle. Ali, it's deep and it's onto the roof of the netting. Leicester showing a real lack of conviction at times. The high balls into the area, but Ali just overcooking that one. Plenty of targets to try and find. Nick Ali on loan from Luton, who are making a late charge in the playoffs in League One. This is 100th league appearance today. Connor Shaughnessy will clear. Jaden Burnell has given Derby the lead against Oxford, which is good news for both of these teams. Oxford currently in the final relegation place, 2 points clear of Leicester. And as it stands, 5 behind Portsmouth. Long throw here for Leicester. Kovacic, the first header away, then Chaplin. Sells. Segacic. Winks. Banana. The crossfield ball from Chaplin doesn't come off. Thomas and Banana have just switched over for a period. Shaughnessy. Now Bishop. It's his 300th senior appearance today, looking for his 100th goal as well. It's been pretty cagey so far. Zell is over the free kick. Thomas is on the end of it. Now Bishop. Back to the crowd, and Leicester can now bring it clear with Daka. Looking for Fatawu. That's a good ball. Daka sprints into the area. Fatawu deeper though, looking for Mavididi, and it's too deep. Mavididi manages to keep the ball in play. Thomas. Wicks. Now Pereira. Fatawu. Zell able to clear. Pereira. Fatawu. He could overread. Pereira was blocked off there by Ali. He could overread. Challenge from Zell. He could overread continues, and in the end the final touch was off Zell. It will be a Leicester corner. There were possibilities here on the counter-attack for Leicester. Fatawu and Mavididi unmarked, but lack of quality in that cross. And Fatawu with 9 goals and 7 assists so far this season, but only 1 goal and no assists in his last 9 games. Top scorer Jordan James is on the bench. He's been managing a heel injury in the last few weeks. Another player who was relegated under Gary Rowett at Birmingham 2 years ago, since moved on to Rennes. Corner onto the head of Shaughnessy. Banana. That's deep. Daka. Portsmouth were looking for the flag. They're able to clear anyway. Pereira. The final touch was off Segacic. Well, he wasn't offside. Jordan Williams was playing him on. Daka. Overruns it. Well, Gary Rowett has not sugared the pill when he's talked about Leicester's predicament. He's spoken about the maybe lack of toughness in the team, and he's tried to address that by bringing Hamza Chowdhury back into midfield today. Segacic stepping away from Thomas, and it was blocked by Lascelles. It will be a corner. Bishop putting the header there, taking 2 Portsmouth or 2 Leicester players out of the game, but Lascelles, the January signing from Newcastle, was in the way. Chaplin's delivery. Lascelles leaping unchallenged. Pereira. pressure though from Fatawu. He'll be heading to the World Cup at the end of the season with Ghana. They're in England's group. He could be doing that as a League One player. Jordan Ayew, who is on the bench, is another. There are a number of players in this Leicester team of international pedigree at various times in their career, dealing with the pressure of relegation battle in the Championship. Needs various qualities. Chowdhury. Cross was cleared. Leicester, of course, came down 2 years ago and took the Championship by the scruff of the neck and on promotion comfortably. Daka gets there before Shaughnessy. Fatawu, he steps inside and it was blocked at the near post by Gazelle. It's a corner. Although Leicester do have plenty of quality, it's all about holding your nerve and maybe grinding things out at this stage of the season, and they've not been able to do that enough. Corner. Fatawu looking for Vestergaard. Good leap though from Boat. Now Lascelles. It's a goal kick. Lascelles helped Newcastle deal with the season in the Championship when they won the title 9 years ago, but now he's trying to help keep Leicester in the division. And there are 18 Championship promotions in this Leicester squad. Of course, a number of them did it 2 years ago. For Portsmouth. Chaplin. Banana under pressure from Bishop, but he's done well. Daka. Now Deagle over Reed. Thomas. Challenge on Deagle over Reed. David Ward had a big decision to make when he did not give Leicester a penalty in the early stages. But of course no VAR in the Championship, so the on-field decision is final. Vestergaard. Fatawu. It's picked up Mabadini, Deagle over Reed, and Regan Paul sends it behind. It's another corner for Leicester, and they're beginning to build some pressure here. Neither team with a shot on target so far. Leicester with marginally more possession. Corner is very deep, headed up in the air by Pack, and then spectacular attempt, which is high over the top from Bobby Deagle over Reed. Portsmouth involved in a similar sort of game against Ipswich on Tuesday and then scored twice late in the first half, and Ipswich never really recovered. Pack. Thomas with the header away. Chaplin. Bishop around the corner for Williams. The cross just beyond Sekic. Chowdhury will eventually clear. Fatawu has gone down there off the ball. The referee will eventually stop play. We'll see what happened here. It was Bishop with a good ball wide initially to Williams, and then cleared away by Chowdhury. Ball not quite falling for Bishop, who'd made that burst into the area. Vestergaard maybe did just enough. But Leicester do not want to see Abdul Fatawu heading off at any stage, as John Messina talks to a number of his players. Well, it's a match which is drenched in tension at the moment. Abdul Fatawu claiming he was caught. Well, his handling there in trying to catch his boot maybe not quite as proficient as his ball skills. Back. Now Paul. Chaplin. Would be more useful for Portsmouth with that cushion they have between themselves and the bottom three. And of course, Oxford are currently losing in their game at Derby. Williams. Chaplin. Sells with the header away. Won back well by Pack. Boat. Ali. Fratton wins it back, and here is Danja. Thomas. Now Vestergaard. He made his first start since groin surgery against Swansea last week. Very experienced Danish international. Bishop. To release Sekic, Thomas with the slip. He does well to recover there on the ground and make the challenge. Now he's under pressure. And in the end, he's got the throw in. Well, Luke Thomas deserved that. Refused to panic in a difficult situation. Leicester, 11 games without a victory away from home since a win at Derby in the local derby in early December. Ali, with Nothing less than a win will do today. Lizelle. Boat. Chaplin. Ball, he goes to hit this, and he does, but he drags it wide. It was a decisive goal for Regan Poole. Hasn't scored for a year, but he's been superb for Portsmouth in their recent run of form. Begovic will be very familiar with the Pompey chimes. Thomas. Chaplin gets there before Winks. Now finds Segacic. Bishop in the centre, but it's beyond him. Ali tries to find Chaplin, but a good challenge by Chowdhury. Goal kick in the end. Segacic again, and being an elusive figure around that sort of area. It's the right sort of ball back. Chowdhury didn't seem to get the final touch, but of course the officials only get one look, and David Ward is having words with Marlon Pack, Portsmouth captain. John Mousinho led his team to safety last season. This is first job in management. Promotion in his first full season, survival in his second, and now looking for another survival season to try and establish Portsmouth back in the Championship. Ali. Here is Fatawu. Well, showing him the outside, but Fatawu's cross lacks the quality. Gary Rowett, seen his wide players often get into good areas, but then just not deliver the ball in. He's having words with Callum Davison, his assistant. You may remember him as fullback at Blackburn Rovers during their Premier League years. Over Reed, looking for Fatawu, and he's got there into the area, but Boat is able to recover at the expense of a corner. Fatawu's pace will always give Leicester a chance on the counter-attack. Corner number 4 for Leicester. It's cleared initially, and then Hamidini stumbles, and here is Ali. Segacic, furthest player forward. Ali is losing his footing himself, and there will be a minimum of 6 more minutes. Nickled over Reed. Shaughnessy. Nicholas Schmidt is not not had a huge amount to do, and the same goes for Asmir Begovic at the other end. Aberdeen. Tawa. Chowdhury whips it in, but it's beyond Daka. Hamza Chowdhury, the Bangladeshi international, with another cross in that Gary Rowett has seen not hit the target. He's aiming to avoid Leicester being the 5th team to endure back-to-back relegations in the Premier League era. Luton Town the last, of course. That happened last season. They've shown in League One it's often not entirely straightforward. From Thomas. Winks will leave this. Then Thomas throwing the ball straight out of play. Gary Rowett was very disappointed at the manner of how they gave away the goal last week against Swansea from their own free kick, and we've seen at times here that the basics are often lacking for Leicester. Winks. Of trying to keep Leicester up, having been sacked by Oxford in December. There is a possibility he may be involved in two sides who go down this season. Oxford losing today, so the pressure building on them. Here it's equalled over Reed, and Schmidt makes the game's first save. All bouncing all the way through to him, and the angle was tight. No real support. Ali at the other end, but Begovic will allow this to drift behind. Leicester have been one of the draw specialists in the Championship this season. Bay and Watford have had 15 stalemates, or at least they will have done if it remains like this. Ball. Chaplin. Gary Rowett helped to perform a rescue act himself last season, keeping Oxford up. Inherited a difficult situation midway through the campaign. Leicester have had is holding on to leads. They've given up 28 points from winning positions. And in the situation they're in, something they simply can't afford to do. A clean sheet so far today. One or two flurries from Portsmouth, but no more than that. Chaplin. He's almost got there third. Blocked forward by Vestergaard. There is Regan Poole. And there goes the whistle. Well, Patson Daka had an early penalty shout for Leicester waved away by Gavin Ward after a challenge by Conor Shaughnessy inside the penalty area. And replay suggesting Portsmouth may have been slightly fortunate, but it's been a game with very few clear-cut opportunities, and the occasion has really overshadowed much of the football so far. Half-time, Portsmouth 0, Leicester City 0.
You've got a young, talented player, but do you bring him in a moment like this, right? Or can he be the hero right now for Gary Rowett's side? There are some goals on the bench. Jordan James has 10 goals on the season. So there's an opportunity here, but it hasn't looked good so far. There's been really no rhythm in this game.
And suffering back-to-back relegations is just can set a club back in major ways. Well, let's send you back out for the second half now between Portsmouth and Leicester City. A big second half coming up for both sides.
Fear of losing seemed to be the primary emotion during the first half. Can one of these sides come up with a winning goal in the second? Portsmouth in the blue shirts playing towards the Fratton end in the second half away to our left. Asmir Begovic not really tested on his return to Fratton Park so far. He played for Portsmouth during their relegation season from the Premier League, and they then endured 3 drops in 4 years amid significant financial problems before the current ownership took over with them in League 2, and it took some time for them to pull themselves back as far as the Championship. Shaughnessy, Boaz, now Ali, cross is low, but it's fired towards goal by Chaplin and turned aside by Begovic. Well, that almost seemed to happen in slow motion. Ali with the ball in, and Chaplin was the only player on the move inside the Leicester penalty area. And Begovic alert at the near post. Fratton Park will take the corner kick here. Into the near post. It's guided away by Daka. Back out towards Pack. And that's very deep. But it's kept alive. Vestergaard pokes it clear. Second shits into the crowd. And Fernando was in the way. And then Winks closed down by Segacic. But it will be a goal kick. Adrian Segacic, one of 2 players brought on by Portsmouth in the first half due to injuries. Tomasino forced into an early change when Kashi Anderson went down injured, and then before 20 minutes had been played, Terry Devlin also injured, and Ivan Boak, the player who replaced him. Boak, usually a central defender, playing at left back, which has allowed Jordan Williams to switch over to his more familiar position on the right. Conor Ogilvie completing a 3-match ban today. Having away by Lascelles. Leicester have home games coming up against Hull and Millwall. Then they finish at Blackburn on the final day. So every game they've got really matters for both teams. Fratton Park leaning into this. Headed away by Lascelles initially. Ali. Segacic. Ali. Bishop was arriving at the near post, but so too was Yannick Vestergaard. Fratton Park will deliver this. In towards Shaughnessy, but good lead by Fatawu, and then Dazelle, helped on by Paul, Chaplin, but the flag's up. Connor Brown, the assistant on the far side. And Colby Bishop, the player who was down inside the Leicester penalty area. Daka, of course, the central striker for Leicester, but he's done much of his work outside the Portsmouth penalty area. There's been no real service for him so far, and changing that, something that Gary Rowett needs to do. He's in conversation there with Andy King, who was the interim manager before he took over. Former Welsh international, part of the Leicester team which won the title 10 years ago. Fratton Park. Shaughnessy not giving him an inch, but Leicester do have a throw-in. Fans find their voice. Vestergaard among those forward looking to attack this. Segicic, Winks just slipping, but got something on it. Fatawu, Abadidi and Dikodovereed were ahead of him, but it's back to Lascelles. Very untidy, but now Bishop looking to release the pace of Ali. Thomas going down and gets the free kick. Well, there was certainly contact from Ali. Well, it was May the 2nd, 2016, that Leicester City received the Premier League trophy. May the 2nd this year, they'll be playing Blackburn. They may need to win that game to stay in the Championship, or their fate may have been sealed by them. We'll have to wait and see. Vestergaard is currently without boots, so he won't be able to continue in the short term until he changes that. Do they fit? The shoe fits. Now Begovic has gone down. So, of course, the medical team will come on and Vestergaard will get time to change his boots. Finally, they managed to pick his spare pair out of the skip or whatever was in the dressing room as Begovic receives treatment. And Leicester, team which also won the FA Cup in 2021, they were regular contenders for the Champions League for a time. Well, 4 years ago they were preparing for a UEFA Conference League semi-final against Roma. to avoid heading down to League One. Will have another throw, and Vestergaard with new boots will take this. Vestergaard leaves it for Thomas. Travels a long way to the far post. Chowdhury! Side netting. Well, he's not scored a league goal since New Year's Day 2020, but he wasn't too far away there. Comes to Chowdhury after it was guided into his path by Colby Bishop. Went for power, but he rippled the side netting. Matalu. Broken up by Pack. Now Boat, Ali, Chaplin. Vestergaard sliding in. John Mousinho looking for his team to pick up the pace here, and Gary Rowett knows as the volume increases, his side can't afford to yield at any moment. Really, 0-0's not enough for Leicester. We'll see what happens later in the day, but to give them any sort of momentum, they have to win this game, you feel. Now Chaplin. Equal over Reed. Boat. Equal over Reed. The home crowd may be sensing that their team really need them. Turn up the volume here. Do have plenty of goals on the bench relative to those on the field, at least. Jordan James with 10 in the Championship this season. Jordan Ayew has 6. Maybe it's time for a change. Lascelles dug out by Vestergaard, but now Ali could be in. And he goes down under the challenge of Begovic. Well, I'm not sure there was contact there, and the goal kick's been given. It was Vestergaard with the missed kick, headed forward by Bishop. Ali trying to skip away from Begovic. And as we'll see here, there was no contact whatsoever. Begovic looking to cover, and Ali knew the ball was beating him out of play. Banana. Chowdhury with the quick throw in. Daka has support from Fatawu, but it's a corner kick off Shaughnessy. Ali going down with seemed to be a delayed reaction. Corner kick though for Leicester. Thomas and equalled over Reed just in front of the goalkeeper. Down towards Mavididi, or it takes a big deflection, but Schmidt was underneath it. Free kick's been given for Hamza Chowdhury, crowding the goalkeeper. Williams. Nearly an hour played and very few clear-cut opportunities. Both teams with one attempt on target. Another capacity crowd here of just over 20,000. Bishop looking for Segacic. He's got there, but then he just misses his kick. He's claiming he was shoved over, but again the referee not interested. Well, if there was contact from Vestergaard, it was very, very slight. Segacic forced wide by the Dane. Not able to catch Begovic. Begovic only finding touch. But the onus really on Leicester to win this game. Gaps maybe beginning to appear. Ali. Chaplin. Nice turn by Dazelle. Lofted wide, but it took a deflection. It will be a corner. Off his first for a while. Are both forward here. Shaughnessy and Bishop looking to cause problems on the edge of the area. Deco Doverreed and Thomas are looking to prevent that. The referee has a word, and then of course it all carries on. And the in-swinger, very deep, and scrambled in! A crucial lead for Portsmouth. Ivan Bolat is claiming it. And Pompey can really sense survival now, but Leicester City are on the brink. The Foxes concede yet again from a corner kick. And Ivan Bolat, the player who was able to bundle that ball home from close range. A real jumble of arms and legs at the far post. And Bolat went for it with his head. I think it hit his knee in the end. He stooped in. Off his knee, nothing that Begovic could do. The sort of goal you tend to see in a relegation battle. But Bolat, the player who scored the winner against Blackburn recently, has come up with an absolutely massive goal. And suddenly John Mousinho and his team can look at a huge gap between themselves and the bottom three. 7 points as it stands with 3 to play. But Leicester City here could be a few days away from relegation. The 13th goal they've conceded from corners this season, the most in the Championship, and it was a real mess. The left knee of Ivan Bolat. And it sparked delirious scenes all around Fratton Park. And they could be heading for 3 wins in a row for the first time in 14 months. And what a time to do it. in the first half, following the injury for Devlin. He's come up with a big goal here. He's not started again for Portsmouth since the end of January, the South Coast derby here against Southampton. It's only his 6th appearance off the bench since. But Leicester have 25 minutes here in which to come up with something. Or they could be relegated at home to Hull City on Tuesday. We'll see what happens later in the day, of course. But the prognosis is pretty grim for the Foxes here as Fatawu goes down, the referee allowing play to continue. Now Banana. It's blocked. Now one back by Chowdhury, but the goal scorer Bowen was in the way. Leicester currently 5 points adrift of safety, of course. West Bromwich Albion playing later on against Preston. That was Bowen's challenge on Fatawu. We'll see what West Bromwich Albion do in detail. As Marlon Pack goes down and gets a free kick. Gary Rowett has seen his side crumble at a set piece yet again. The 20th goal they've conceded from set pieces this season. Kick here. And Leicester City, a team with a number of international players within it, are in a real hole, and now Gary Rowett is going to the bench. Jordan James coming on along with Divine Musaka. Lascelles under pressure there from Bishop, appeals for handball, but the free kick has gone Leicester's way. Chowdhury, player who was fouled there by Pack. Maybe just a hint of handball about the goal from Boa. Accidental, but of course an accidental handball in an attacking sense would often be chalked off if VAR was in use, but of course in the Championship it isn't. And again, it was a very difficult situation for the referee to look at with so many players involved. Lascelles. Fatawu. Banana. And he goes down under the challenge of Lascelles, and he's furious, but nothing's given. Maybe it was just clipped by the trailing leg, but well, you can see the frustration of the Leicester the captain. Here come the changes. Hamza Chowdhury coming off and Jordan James, the Welsh international, coming on. And Divine Lusaka. The 18-year-old on loan from Leicester City, Chowdhury. Clearly not happy as he's given a send-off. Maybe reacting to the Portsmouth supporters is not the best thing to do in this situation. Although feelings clearly running high, and he is a player who has been associated with Leicester for a long time, and he was shown a yellow card on his way off there for his reaction to the referee Gavin Ward. Chowdhury had that great chance. He hit the side netting early in the second half at 0-0, and Steffi Mabadidi has also made way for Divine Lusaka, the Manchester City loanee. And Leicester, with 19 minutes of normal time to play, have got to create something here. Vestergaard is penalised for catching Segicic. Vestergaard, as a former Southampton player, will always get a warm welcome at Fratton Park. Boat is forward again. Portsmouth score here, it's surely all over. It's flicked on and wide at the near post, and it was Bishop who got the second touch. It was Chaplin who made the first run, and then Bishop. No clean sheets in 10 games now for Razmir Begovic. Vestergaard. Good lead by Fatawu. James. Bowen hammers the ball away. Luke Thomas will try and deliver this. To the distance, but Pompey are able to clear. Winks. Lusaka. Winks. Delivered in and flicked on. A great save by Schmidt. Daka's header. Leicester's best chance so far. Thomas. Now Lascelles. Finding Fatawu. Lusaka. And it was blocked by Shaughnessy. And now the breakaway for Portsmouth. Segicic, but he overruns it. Pereira wins it back. Now Fatawu. Jordan James. Vestergaard. Great block by Paul. It's a corner kick, but he celebrates that as if he scored a goal, and you can understand why. Jordan James pulling it back to Vestergaard, who set himself for the shot, but Paul hurled himself in the way. Corner kick, played by Schmidt. Well, Patson Daka has been waiting for that sort of opportunity, and Schmidt palmed bombing the ball to safety. And Williams in the right place to hammer the ball away for Portsmouth. And now, Daka catching Schmidt as he cleared. Yellow card for him. At this stage of the game, at this stage of the season, you can understand why Daka slid in like that. 15 minutes to play. Leicester a goal down in a game they really have to win. Schmidt back on his feet. I think Gavin Ward is keen that the medical team don't come on as Bobby De Cordova-Reid is replaced by Jordan Ayew. Ghanaian international comes on. Only one goal in 15 games for him as Pompey ready more changes. Ebu Adams will be coming on along with Jacob Brown. Segicic, who himself came on as a sub very early on in the game, he will make way for Adams, who has missed the last 4 games, signing from Derby in January, Gambian international, and Connor Chaplin will also depart, and Jacob Brown, another Luton loanee in the Portsmouth squad, will come on. Portsmouth are closing in on a 3rd successive win after only 3 points in 8 games. Dash to safety. Looks as though it's been perfectly timed. And if Leicester lose this, without any question, they will need 3 wins to have any real hope, you feel. James stepping in. One back by Pereira. Daka in pursuit. Paul with the back pass. Daka could get there first, but Schmidt with a brave block. Nervy moment for Pompey there. Nicholas Schmidt with a key intervention. Regan Paul not getting hold of the back pass. And Daka one-on-one, but only for a moment. You can see the look of anguish on the face of Regan Paul. Daka had to play it first time, but when he did, Schmidt was already there. Ayew in pursuit here, but cut out by Williams. Adams winning the header, forcing Vestergaard back, all the way back to Begovic. Not been the return to Fratton Park so far that he'll have been hoping for. Oxford still a goal down at Derby. And it's looking pretty grim for the two sides who still have an opportunity to leave the relegation zone. Adams again. Ali has got support. Under pressure from Fatawu. It's out of play. Well, those Leicester fans facing up to the reality of back-to-back relegations now. 10 years ago, they were the champions. Next season, they could be in the first round of the FA Cup. Bishop. Now Adams. Closed down by Vestergaard. Bowen, who at the moment is the match winner, will take this. And it was Ali who went down, but it's a goal kick. So the situation at the bottom of the table, Portsmouth up to 51 points if it stays like this. They'll be 7 points clear of Oxford. And Leicester would be 5 points adrift of West Bromwich Albion. They play at Preston later on today. Ayew. Daka. Got support. Masaka. He's fouled. Free kick. Will be one of the targets here with Daka. Leicester looking to hack the penalty area. Masaka's delivery. Boat on the end of that. Banana. And the final touch was off for Tawu. Taking his time here. Banana is penalised, holding on to Milanic Ali. And Leicester can't get the ball at a time when they need to be dominating the game. Of course, they have been relegated to the third tier before in 2008. Under Ian Holloway, they were promoted straight away under Nigel Pearson, and over 2 spells he then laid the foundations for the Premier League title success. But at the moment, Leicester dropping out of the Championship. About to lose another key game without too many attempts on goal. Bishop. The foul on Daka. It will be a free kick. But Leicester got to move this quickly. Lascelles. Vestergaard. Winks. James. Fatawu. High from Winks. The acrobatics from Daka don't come off. Banana. Losing out to Ali. And Masaka. For options, leaves it for James in the end. Fatawu dart into the area from him, away from Boat. He goes down, but no real appeals. Well, they were linking arms the extent of it. Wings heading towards the final 5 minutes. Given away by Ali. Osaka, Pereira, now to Zell. Pack. Bishop. Foul by Lascelles. Into the final 5 minutes. Well, John Messina kicking every ball here, living every moment. He knows how important a victory will be. Hammered forward by Dazelle. Bishop. And Brown able to gather. James. Forward from Fatawu. Ayew chasing Schmidt, using his head, but here is Daka. Masaka. Pat was in the way. And Jacob Brown able to hammer the ball to safety. Schmidt has had one or two big moments for Pompey in the second half. The long throw from James, and he's there again. Ayew was the player who was chasing, and Paul relying on his goalkeeper. Bishop, entirely challenged by Pereira. Bishop again, Brown back on his feet. Bishop maybe thinking about heading to the corner flag. He's got two for company. And it's a goal kick. Lascelles. Vestergaard. Header dropping to Pereira. James. Osaka losing out to Williams. Adams. There's Pereira. Osaka. Oh, that's clearance. Skied high. His header then drops to Masaka. Thomas. Wings. Fatawu. James. Crowded out by Dazelle. But at the moment, Ivan Boat is the player. Maybe just clicked his left hand onto his left knee and into the back of the net. Sure. In a VAR environment that may have been chalked off, but in the Championship the on-field decision stands. Of course, no hint of intent, but any sort of attacking handball, particularly in the goal-scoring situation, is always looked at. Pack catching Ayew, and then words are exchanged between the two veterans, and in the end Pack is still having words, and then Lascelles is getting involved, and Ayew, who initially was involved, is now trying to calm things down. And Gavin Ward will receive his 11th yellow card of the season. And Jordan Ayew follows him into the book. There was a challenge from behind by Pat, claimed he got the ball. Ayew didn't appreciate it, and then it all got a bit silly. And Leicester now turning to Oliveira Luco. Ricardo Pereira is coming off. We are into added time, and there will be a minimum of 5 more minutes. Free kick high into the Pompey box. Winks. Cleared as far as Fatawu. And it was blocked by Paul again. Corner kick. Leicester return to the 19-year-old. Obey Aluko. Well, these Leicester fans, I'm sure will take a point now, even though a win looked to be essential. Cleared away. Winks was blocked by Brown, and Brown then chasing out. He concedes the throw-in, and he'll get a yellow card for delaying the game. Still time for Leicester here. Thomas once again going long, but it's onto the head of Pat. Aluko. Winks. Fatawu. Hitting the byline. Then it was blocked by Gazelle. Ali. Anyway, will do. That will do nicely for Portsmouth. Long from Begovic. Lifted high by Winks. Ali. Bishop down the centre. But Adams in support. It's swung high towards Bishop. And it's claimed by Begovic. Portsmouth could have headed to the corner flag there. Vestergaard playing up front now. And fouled by Ali. It's a free kick. Well, Leicester will pack the penalty area here. And this is really desperate for Leicester. Musaka over the free kick. Those fans have travelled in numbers, but they've had very little to enthuse about here. And Musaka curls it wide, and that really sums everything up for them. And you can hear 1 or 2 boos. Well, Gary Rowett has seen his team concede again from a set piece. And when it's really mattered, they have failed to deliver. They've had opportunities in the second half. The header from Daka and the shot from Vestergaard, which was blocked. But on the whole, this has not been good enough for them. Ali, you want to keep that in play. To see his team head to 3 successive wins, 3 successive clean sheets. But a free kick here first. No jacket required for John Mousinho here now. Shaking the head from Gary Rowett. Portsmouth moving on to 51 points. 3 successive wins for them, but another defeat for Leicester City. A decade ago, they were Premier League champions. Now, it looks increasingly likely they are heading down to League One, but Portsmouth look to have saved themselves. Ivan Boat stepping off the bench to bundle in the only goal. Leicester conceding yet again from a corner kick. It is finished. Portsmouth 1, Leicester City 0.
Wow, another loss for Leicester City. 1-0 the final as Portsmouth get their 3rd straight victory, and Leicester now in a desperate position in the relegation zone, coming into today needing 3 points, unable to get the job done, conceding yet another goal from a corner kick. Now, it's just hard to imagine the downfall of this Leicester City team.
This is what happens when you don't plan things or coordinate properly. I mean, Leicester for me, it's a terrible story when you look at the team and the fairy tale that they had recently, winning the Premier League and now jumping to the Championship, and then obviously mismanagement, point reduction, and now the reality of it, Ali, I just can't see them coming out of it. I think that this was a must-win for them today in the run of things, and you look at how competitive it is down at the bottom of the league, and now losing today away from home. When you look at the games they've got coming up, Hull, Millwall and Blackburn, you've got teams that are chasing a playoff spot. I think the reality is starting to sink in now that Leicester potentially could be relegated from the Championship.
Yeah, back-to-back relegations is what Leicester City is facing at the moment. But we've still got a whole lot more to dig into on this EFL match day. Coming up, we have more teams seeking promotion with 5 EPL matches at 10 a.m. Eastern, followed by a post-match show recapping the action from today. Meanwhile, Napoli-Lazio kicks off on Paramount Plus, and then Roma will take on Atalanta at 2:45 p.m. Eastern with scoreline to follow at 5 p.m. Eastern. We'll be back, everybody, with much more on our Golazo Matchday show next.
At the start of every year, I find myself